everybody. Welcome to Clifta Fit. I hope you guys are having a great day. And I had a question today from somebody in my group, my Facebook group, which I want to tell you too, when I had started that, I think it was over a year ago. It was going to be a paid group, and it's kind of changed and evolved. It's more of like a support group, and it's free. So if you would like to join, just go to Clifta's Corner on Facebook and ask to join, and I'll add you. But it's a nice little group where people post pictures every day or whenever they work out, and they'll write what they trained, and then you get support from other people. They give you thumbs up, so it's kind of an accountability thing. And it's also to get support from other people to help you keep going on your journey. So that's free if you want to join. Just go to Facebook and look up Clifta's Corner and ask to join, and I'll add you. Everybody's really friendly and really nice on there. So it's a nice little safe place to kind of share what you're doing and get support for what you're doing. So I had a question on the group today, and it was about pyramiding, and this is kind of geared more towards women. It was a woman that posted it, and this question is geared more towards women that can't lift a whole lot of weight. When women are doing certain things, because we're smaller and we're not as strong as men, the jumps that we make, the increments that we make when we increase the weight, it's a lot more for us than it is for a man. So if we increase the weight by 5 pounds, that's a lot to us. If you're 100 pounds or 120 or 30, 40 pounds compared to a man that is, higher 100s or in the 200s, if you're a smaller frame, a smaller person, a 5 pound jump is a lot bigger jump for a woman than it is a man that's 200 pounds. 5 pounds to a 200 pound man is nothing, but if you're 100 pounds, 120 pounds, or 140 pounds, when you do a 5 pound jump, it's a lot heavier for us. So, with that being said, the question was that this person's not very strong in flat bench, but she wanted to pyramid, but didn't know if she could because she's not very strong. So most bars in the gym are 45 pounds. And if you're not very strong, 45 pounds can be heavy. So in order to pyramid up, you have to be able to add weight to that. And if the 45 pounds is heavy to you already, and say you're getting, only 10, 12 reps, sometimes it's hard to add weight on top of that. You could put a 2.5 on each side, which would make a 5 pound jump, which would take you up to 50 pounds, and that might bring your reps down on the next set to, say you got like 8 or 9 reps, with the heavier weight. So my answer to that is, you have to work with what you have. So you can either use dumbbells and start off with the lighter weight and pyramid up that way. But if you do want to do a bench press, my answer was for a flat bench press is do what you can do. If it's already heavy for you for the first set, increase to the next set if you can, increase by 5 pounds. If that puts you at 8 or 9 reps, that's already kind of heavy for you. So I would just rest and then do a 3rd set and then do a 4th set. And just make sure you're not resting too long in between, so you keep the intensity there. But the muscle can't really see how much weight that you're lifting. The thing that gets you results is the intensity. So if you're pushing as much as you can on those sets, even though you might be staying at the same amount of weight for each set, if you're doing as many as you can do on each set, and naturally as the muscle gets tired, you know, it's going to be more tired for your third set than it is your first set. And by the last set, say if you pick to do 4 sets, by your 4th set, even if you're using the same weight, if you pushed your first set hard enough, you shouldn't be able to do as many reps with your last set. So, example, let's just say we're using 45 pounds on all the sets. So say you did 45 pounds and you did, say you got 12 reps on the first set. Say you rest about a minute, minute and a half. You know, you can rest less if you want to. Just make sure that you've caught your breath so you can, now, and say that first set is like 12 was the most that you could do. Say you tried to get a 13th one and you couldn't. So on the second set, say you've rested about a minute. You do that second set. It should be hard to get to 12. If you were pushing it to get to 12 on the first one, say you got like 10 and a half on the second one. You know, you've taken that muscle to failure. Your muscle is going to keep getting tired if you're putting everything into it. So on the third set, your chest is going to be more tired, so it's going to be even harder to get 10. Say you might get 9. You know, and then the 4th set, say you're pushing really hard and you get like 7.5, almost 8, but not quite. So if, as long as you're not resting too long in between sets, and you're pushing, you push that first set until you can't, you know, until you can't lift it. You know, say you couldn't get 13, but you got 12. When you're starting off with that first set where you've kind of pushed it, each set that you do after that should be hard to get to that first number. You shouldn't be able to get to that first number again. If you are, then you're either resting too long or you stopped at your first set sooner than you could have. You know, if you stopped at 12 but you really could have got 15, then you might be able to reach 12 on the second set again. It's because you didn't take that first one to failure. Does that make sense? So it's really the intensity that makes you grow and helps you get results. The muscle can't see that you're lifting 45 pounds every time. So the trick is to make it intense. So one way to make it intense is, like I said, push that first set until you really can't do another one. So you're not stopping too soon. And then make sure you're not resting too long in between sets, because if you rest too long and you have more time to recover, then you're going to be able to do more, and then that next set and the third set and the 4th set, they're not going to be as hard or as intense. You save the more resting for the sets to where the exercises where you can increase. You know, because if you start with, say you start with 45 and you do 15 reps, and then you increase it to 65, and say you get 10 to 12. Then you increase it to 75 and you get 9-ish, 8-ish, 9-ish. And then on that last set, say you only get like 6 or 7. Say you increase that to like 85 pounds or 95 pounds. These are just ideas, but you're increasing your weight on every set. So when you're increasing your weight on every set, you need a little bit longer time in between. The way that I always judge it is I don't do it by the clock. I do it by my breath. When I get done, when you're pushing hard, you're going to be winded. And I like to rest until my breath kind of gets back to normal. When it gets back to normal, okay, I feel ready to go again. So you want to go when it's gotten back to normal, but you don't want to wait so long that your muscles start to get cold again. So when you're training heavier, you can rest a little bit longer in between sets, because you do want a little bit more energy to lift that heavier weight. So you can take a heavier weight and then just push it as hard as you can. So anyway, that was one of the questions in the group. And she had seen this video here, and that's what made her want to ask the question, because in this video, and it's funny because when I saw the question, I found this video and I sent it to her, and she says, I just watched that, that's why I asked the question. So because in this video, it's actually a really good video on chest and tricep training, and there's a part 1 and a part 2. Part 1, it starts off with flat bench, and my first set I did 45 pounds and did 40 reps, and then I increased the weight on each set after that. So that's what made her post the question, was because she couldn't do that many reps with that weight, and then the pyramiding up, she couldn't increase the same. So anyway, this video is, I just wanted to share that question in case somebody else had a similar question or ever wondered about that. You know, it's a little different with women than with men, like I said, because of the weight, the weight difference. You know, it's 5 pounds is a bigger percentage of weight to add to something when you weigh less. You know, when you weigh more, 5 pounds is a, did I say 5 pounds? 5 pounds is a bigger percentage for somebody that's smaller in weight, somebody that weighs less. But somebody that weighs more, 5 pounds is a lot smaller percentage of weight that they're using compared to their body. So that makes a big difference and makes a difference in maybe how you might train with certain exercises. When you get machines or dumbbells, I think for women you have a little bit more control over how light you can go in the jumps that you make. Sometimes though, for the dumbbells, they go up in 5 pound increments, and some gyms have smaller increments that they go up. You know, they'll have like 5 pounds, 8 pounds, 10 pounds, 12 pounds, 15 pounds. You know, and when you're doing certain exercises like for arms and stuff, the smaller increments for women, it really helps to help you do an in-between weight, because sometimes on certain things, going from 10 pounds to 15 pounds when you're doing your arms is a big jump. So anyway, I don't want this to get too long. I hope that helped, and I hope you guys like this. If you do, give me a thumbs up if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye.